to this week's episode of Real Talk about real estate with Peter and Nicole. Hey Peter, what do you know?
Hey Nicole, well first of all, CMHC, they kind of dropped a big bomb predicting house price drop. They changed their debt service ratios, most of which is going to affect people maybe theoretically or maybe in reality, but time will tell. How was your week?
Bananas. Participated in 4 different offer competitions for 4 different clients, so it was a whirlwind.
Perfect. Why don't we roll into some stats? So we're still, just as we said last week and the week before, closing that gap between 2019 and 2020. We're doing about 2/3 the volume that we would do pre-COVID right now.
Yeah, and what's interesting of note is that if we were to look at the first 6 weeks of June in this year and compare it to, the first 6 days of June and compare it to the first 6 days of 2019, we have actually recorded a 15% higher number of showings this year compared to last year, so tides are turning.
And then if we look month over month, so if we look at the past week compared to the week, it's the same week in May, we're doing 95% more sales, 95% more showings. The only number that isn't up to 95% is the number of new listings, which is at 68%. Still up, but clearly not keeping up with the demand that's out there in the marketplace.
And while it certainly did feel like a feeding frenzy this past week, buyers do not lose hope. It would appear that help is on the way. We have seen an uptick in number of new listings recorded compared to the previous week. So brighter skies are on the horizon.
You got it. Let's roll into some fact or fiction. Nicole, I've got one for you. House prices are going to drop 9 to 18% in the next 12 months.
In my opinion, that is fiction. It is true that CMHC did announce a prediction of 9 to 18% drop in prices nationwide. But my feelings about that are, number one, that's nationwide, and it's going to vary from market to market, and our market here locally is pretty insulated. Number two, during the worst of the shutdown, we saw the number of sales drop at a similar proportion as the number of new listings. So all that really did is just maintain the same dynamics that we saw pre-COVID. So no major disruption there. Number three, the market has already rebounded way faster than I think all of us probably anticipated. Consumer confidence is on the rise again. Interest rates are dirt cheap. People are clearly out shopping for houses again. And the last point that really stood out to me from this article that I read was, if you look at CMHC's competitors on the private side, it's Genworth and Canada Guarantee. Historically, they would always follow suit anytime CMHC would announce a change to their criteria or anything like that. But for the first time in history, apparently, Genworth and Canada Guarantee are not changing their underwriting criteria. At least there are no indications that they will be. So what that suggests is that analysts in those camps seem to also disagree with CMHC's prediction as well.
Yeah, interesting. Genworth didn't follow suit with CMHC, so clearly a big misalignment between the two big mortgage insurance companies.
So, Peter, fact or fiction? During the pandemic, we are prohibited from showing tenanted properties or rental properties.
That's fiction. There's nothing in Ontario legislation that prevents showings from happening due to COVID, but obviously there are requirements we have to satisfy, and the biggest way to get around this is to push for virtual showings, virtual open houses, all sorts of virtual appointments rather than doing anything in person. If there's a health concern that relates to COVID, those showings maybe won't go through, but there really isn't any anything in the legislation specifically prohibiting showings due to the state of emergency. They can still go on, but you have to work with the tenant and be respectful. And again, the easiest way is just to do everything virtually. Now, I think that's it for this week's Real Talk.
Thanks for tuning in, and remember, if you've hit a wall, focus on one brick at a time.
Have a great weekend. Cheers.